Hey everybody, Jeff Oriyama here. Gartner has placed GraphQL in the trough of disillusionment in its 2026 hype cycle for APIs. Maybe you're not familiar with the hype cycle, but you've probably seen this chart. The trough is the stage where peak hype is over, but the trade-offs remain. GraphQL spent years being discussed as a better way to build APIs for complex applications. And by now, there are enough production deployments to talk about the operational work behind that promise. This work includes schema design, query planning, performance, access control, federation, and ownership, especially ownership. That is a healthier conversation than another round of GraphQL versus REST versus TRPC versus React Server components, whatever. Insert blank there. I wrote about this in a blog post for Apollo this week, and one detail from Gartner's report stood out to me. GraphQL is in the trough, yet Gartner forecasts that it will reach the so-called plateau of productivity in less than 2 years. That forecast is shorter than the timelines Gartner gives several technologies receiving more attention in the current API and agent conversation. The plateau of productivity is a Goldilocks zone. It means the tech has earned its place in the pantheon of useful stuff, and that utility is relatively in balance with its solid reputation. Hype cycle is a solid measurement, but the thing being measured is essentially consensus on two axes, opinion and adoption. What this shows, in my opinion, is that GraphQL adoption is spreading and that the prevailing sentiment is kind of at a low point. It's useful to see how it got there. Gartner changes categories over time, and technologies rarely move through the curve in an orderly way that the picture might imply. Still, it's useful to look at the part of GraphQL's Gartner history that we can document. So Gartner first started talking about GraphQL using the broader category, quote, graph APIs, and that was valid in 2021 and 2022. GraphQL appeared as a named category, its own category, in 2023. 2024, Gartner reported 19% GraphQL adoption. The 2026 report places it in the trough. The labels have changed enough that we don't have a precise trend line of GraphQL's progression through Gartner's model. But it's clear that GraphQL has been in this conversation long enough to have an operational record. The market has moved past the early novelty. Teams are now deciding whether the tech earns a durable place in their architecture. And most teams will decide that yes, GraphQL is worth it. It's a good time to bring up AI here. Gartner observes that GraphQL has not seen a dramatic adoption surge from AI and agentic workflows. To that I'd say, yeah, that almost goes without saying. MCP has had a much more direct arrival. It appeared alongside the current wave of agent tooling with a straightforward purpose that people could immediately connect to LLMs. GraphQL comes from a different set of problems. Organizations adopted it to make distributed systems more coherent for application teams. They used it to bring together data and capabilities from systems that had grown separately over time. They used it to give web, mobile, and internal product teams a shared model of the business, rather than a pile of point integrations. I think that GraphQL's transition to the AI era will be successful because that use case translates extremely well to building agents. AI needs useful context, and you can engineer that context with way more fluency when you have field-level granularity than endpoint-level granularity. It means knowing what a customer record represents, how it relates to an order or a reservation, which actions are available, and which fields a particular user or agent can access. And you need to retain the ability to observe and govern those interactions as the software evolves. A mature graph already contains a good part of that work. The schema describes a domain. The graph layer sits over underlying services. Existing platform capabilities can govern who accesses particular fields and operations, and teams observe how customers use the graph, how clients use the graph, and evolve the contract over time. So in this blog post, I cited American Airlines to ground the discussion in something concrete. Its core system of record, Sabre, dates back to the 1960s, believe it or not. Well before the current agent cycle, American Airlines built a federated graph spanning customer loyalty, reservations, and check-in experiences. That graph existed because the company needed to coordinate a very large set of systems for its digital products. Later, when American Airlines set a 90-day target for delivering AI agents, the team had a foundation to work from. Apollo's MCP server could sit on top of the graph already in production. Persistent queries could serve as the approved tool surface. Existing security scopes applied to agent interactions. Authentication, governance, observability, that was all part of the platform rather than a separate project. Senior Principal Architect Pragadish Prakasam at American Airlines summarized the benefit. Quote, "We could just focus on the experience, not on rebuilding the plumbing." End quote. I mean, that's it, isn't it? That is the part of the GraphQL story that creates a fuller narrative than a point on a line. A company can build a graph for web and mobile development and discover years later that that same investment has changed the economics of a new kind of application. It's flexible. So MCP and GraphQL fit very naturally together in this picture. MCP gives the models and agent frameworks a standard way to work with tools, and a governed graph provides the structured domain surface behind those tools, and in many cases, an orchestration layer. American Airlines architecture is interesting because it uses both of those layers. The 2026 Gartner placement reflects the difficult, ordinary work of operating GraphQL at scale. There are real reasons that teams struggle with it, and GraphQL rewards good platform practices and exposes the absence of them. Teams need clear ownership, strong schema design, demand controls, and a deliberate approach to governance. Those requirements are part of the technology's maturity story. And it's also why I think the trough might be a useful place for GraphQL to be right now. Conversation has become more specific. The questions are demanding. And the orgs that have done the work now have an infrastructure that we can all point to and that serve a wider set of consumers, including agents. So Gartner's forecast says GraphQL may reach the plateau of productivity soon. Whether that happens, quote, on schedule, right, matters less, in my opinion, than the underlying direction. GraphQL is being evaluated as durable infrastructure. For the organizations that have already built a mature graph, that has become a meaningful advantage as they move into the agent era. What's your take on Gartner's analysis of GraphQL or any of the other technologies that you see in the chart? Do you agree? Drop a comment. Let us know why. That's it for now. See you next time.